And joining us now, Middle East editor for the Associated Press, Dan Perry, plus former advisor to Benjamin Netanyahu, Ruthie Blum. Dan, I'm going to start with you here. We heard John Huddy asking about the information war, something I'm sure you're very familiar with. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, I mean, the narrative that has been established across the world is that basically this is a war of aggression at this point on the part of Israel, and that tens of thousands of people have been killed, and that the place is basically in a state of near famine caused by Israel's policies. Now, I mean, part of that is true, some is not so true, but it certainly isn't the entire story. And I think the world media probably should do more to keep viewers and readers cognizant of the fact that this was a war started by Hamas and a war that could end instantly in a second if Hamas laid down its arms and returned the hostages.
Ruthie, part of that plan laid out by Benjamin Netanyahu was de-arm Hamas. Does that mean eradicate Hamas? I'm trying to figure out that if any members of Hamas still remain in the Gaza Strip, that they'll likely take up arms against Israel.
Well, that's why Israel needs to to maintain security control there. Part of the problem, or the main problem, is that when Israel withdrew completely in 2005, we left the terrorists to fester and arm themselves. And each time we've had a ceasefire, they've done that again and booby-trapped their tunnels, etc. So yes, we have to maintain security control. But it doesn't mean necessarily killing every last terrorist, which is something that's very difficult to do. But it does mean preventing them from arming the way that is being done with Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Also want to mention this, Dan, that one of the consequences we know of this war for Israel has been that now multiple nations have recognized a Palestinian state. Australia's prime minister, the latest, and he had this to say about his country and a future Palestinian state. Watch.
Australia will recognise the state of Palestine. Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority.
Dan, a Palestinian state would imply that it would be ruled by Hamas, which I think we all know that terrorist rule simply doesn't work.
Well, I don't think that's the intention of the recognizers, who are probably people of good intentions, but sometimes naive outlook on life. There is a strong argument that says that Israel needs a Palestinian state in order to survive demographically, because the territory between the so-called river and the so-called sea, the Holy Land of Israel, the West Bank and Gaza, currently is only 50% Jewish, or even slightly less. Israel needs this. However, it's also true that the West Bank is very strategic highland, and Gaza is a place from which Israel was attacked, and many Palestinians will remain hostile, even probably once the state is established. So security guarantees and what Ruthie and Netanyahu call security control is a plausible thing to be demanding. You know, Israel now is very happy that the Lebanese government is finally trying to disarm Hezbollah, rather, and indeed that's true, and Israel can take some credit, because Israel thrashed Hezbollah last fall, enabling this. Israel wants the same thing to happen in Gaza. That no one is talking about a Hamas-ruled Gaza in the long term. Not Israel, but not the European recognizers of Palestine, not the Australian Prime Minister, and not the Arab League. All of them are calling on Hamas to disarm. The question is how to bring this about. And the plan that is being discussed right now in Israel will embroil Israel in many months more and maybe years more of conflict.
Yeah, something they'll all have to work out here.
Kind of unpopular in Israel.
Right. And also, who will overlook the Palestinian state?
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Correct.
That would also be friendly.
Correct. Exactly.
Well, it has to be the Palestinian Authority, guys. That would be the equivalent of the Lebanese government disarming Hezbollah. The PA would disarm Hamas.
All right. Got to run. Ruthie, Dan, we appreciate you both. Thank you.